Welcome, everyone. It's good to see everybody. And right off the bat, thank you so much, Seashell, for the super sticker. It means a lot. Um, Guys, do me a favor real quick before we get started. You have a chance, go ahead and smash that like button for me. I want to make as many people aware of this situation as they possibly can. The whole point of covering this and talking about this is to generate some awareness because there's clearly an injustice going on here. So, and this is not, yeah, trolling and stupid comments are just not going to be tolerated when discussing the subject. I'm also going to go ahead and just explain to you guys as quickly as I can. Um, Don't even bother asking about Sophie's whereabouts. I don't know where Sophie is. I don't want to know where Sophie is necessarily. And if I did, I certainly would not share that information here. That is not what we're here to do. That is going to be up to Michael and his family alone to figure that out once Michael is in a better position to be able to do so. I am not here to discuss Sophie's current whereabouts or well-being because that would all be rumor. So but the reason why I'm talking about this is because there is someone who I have gotten to know over the last 2 years, who is currently in jail. I've gotten to speak to his family. I consider myself to be a pretty decent judge of character, and of course, anybody that you speak to is not going to be without their flaws, but I am absolutely adamant and convinced that Michael is a loving, caring father, and a protective one at that. I think that her grandparents, Sophie's grandparents, are also very loving and protective, and very frustrated. It is affecting their health, and it really bothers me that this is taking place. So what I'm going to talk about today is I have a little bit of information regarding Michael's conditions in the Mexican jail prior to um, being extradited back to the United States to Collin County. Uh, I I have a little bit of details as far as what his conditions were in jail in Mexico. Currently, as I understand it, uh, he's not in a position to be very social in Collin County. Um, and as we all know, jail's not exactly comfortable to begin with, but for some reason, I don't have any indication that he's being mistreated in any way currently. But apparently, the Mexican jail was not quite as uncomfortable for him, as I understand it. Um, I'm going to look over some notes here to go over a couple of things. Uh, uh, so while Michael was in the Mexico prison, he was sleeping on a concrete. Well, no, he wasn't comfortable. He was sleeping on a concrete floor under a lower bunk. And the cell was about 10 by 10 feet. And they had as many as 21 people in there on occasion. So you can imagine what the smell was like in an area like that. The toilet was a bucket, for which was dumped every day. There was a shower with a curtain for privacy. But there were also rats and roaches. So basically, when you picture a Mexican prison or see one in the movies, apparently it's pretty accurate. But things apparently had gotten better when the occupancy went down to about 6. Even still, in a 10 by 10 cell, I can't imagine. But I'm also going to show you guys something while Michael was in jail in Mexico. While Michael was in jail in Mexico, he got a certification and he was teaching some of the Mexican prisoners English. So he won some favor with the people there in the Mexican jail because he was being productive. I will go ahead and show this. This is the certificate that Michael had received for teaching. It says, my Spanish is terrible, guys, but I will do the best I can. La subdirección de apoyo técnico a través de la dirección del centro escolar Santiago Ramírez y la coordinación de cursos extra escolares se complecian en otorgar el presente reconocimiento. So basically, this basically translates that he is that whatever organization that recognizes, he basically got a certificate. It's official. You could see that it's stamped officially here in April the 21st of 2022. So he was actually keeping himself productive here. The English translation is right here. Secretary of Citizen Security, Under Secretary of the Penitentiary System, North Male Preventive Prison School Center, the Technical Sub-Directorate, through the direction of the Santiago Ramirez School Center and the coordination of extracurricular courses, are pleased to grant this recognition to the participant Michael J. Long for his participation in the Advocacy Update Workshop for the benefit of community deprived of liberty. For the benefit of the community deprived of liberty. I like that they put it that way. That's interesting. Educational tools, April 19th, 20 and 21. So I guess he had to take a course, a 3-day course, and he won the certificate, or earned this certificate, I should say, that allowed him to yeah, I didn't even look to see if there was a translation here, so I did my best to read it in Spanish. But I am like almost illiterate when it comes to Spanish, even though I grew up in a Hispanic household, but always here in the United States, except for a very brief period of time in the Dominican Republic. So needless to say, I didn't do well in school when I was in the Dominican Republic. So that doesn't sound to me like someone who is lazy, as he's been accused of. I quite remember I quite remember Canceled Karen covering this case, and someone being on her panel who accused him of being lazy and refusing to be productive in any way, shape, or form. And I think the way that she put it was, why can't he get a job like regular, decent white folk? Yeah, she said that. So that particular white folk, according to her, spent his time in a Mexican jail teaching Mexican prisoners English, being extremely productive. So I don't want to hear that. like I just the credibility of these people who have trash talked this guy and have, I mean, you have two main people that were doing this. You have canceled Karen who was doing it, and then you have without a clue Crystal Ball that was doing it as well. And one is currently being sued for $10 million, and the other one, like, if you could virtually throw a pebble in her, at the people that she talks about, you could virtually throw a pebble randomly, you're likely to hit someone that is suing her because everyone sues her. Everyone sues Katie Joy. Why? Because they are always lying and defaming people's character, and they're doing it for the sake of content. So, you know, the fact that people listen to these idiots blows my mind. So, I mean, uh, one of them I call canceled Karen because she no longer has a channel, or at least she has one. She had one taken away, but she started a new one thinking that, oh my God, I'm going to get all my listeners back. And she doesn't. She gets about maybe 40 people in her chat at a time, depending. And that's if she's talking about it, something that the whole world is talking about, because just nobody puts uh, any type of intellectual investment into anything that she says at all, ever. So, you know, that should tell you everything that you need to know. Um, there's also some information here. Um, Now, until I can prove this, this is stuff that I'm going to be looking into. So, just to be uh, now, Jake's father is also a law enforcement officer. His stepdad uh, is a detective. So Jake Bellington, who currently has no charges on him, who we know for a fact, based on 911 calls, based on police reports and accounts taken by the children, that he is violent, that he drinks, uses cocaine, and he is extremely abusive. So we have facts that indicate this stuff, uh, but there's also the fact that, like I said, his father is an law enforcement officer and his stepdad is a detective. Um, and there is apparently a case. Now, this is the thing: is there's no way that I could ever prove this because it is sealed. But there is a case that I don't know what the nature of the case is. But there is a case in Austin that is now sealed for some reason regarding Jake Bellington. And apparently this is hearsay as well, till I could prove it, but I'd love to meet this person and talk to them. Apparently Jake dated a porn star that he lived with in Southern California. I'd love to know who that porn star is, and I'd love to get in contact with her at some point, or him, whoever it is. Uh, um, and there's speculation that Kelly and Jake were using the children as mules to transport drugs uh, for an Oklahoma compound to Dallas. So it was an 8-hour drive. Like I said, that's just speculation and hearsay. I don't know how much truth there is into that. But if you recall, the 7-year-old of Sophie's siblings tested positive from a hair follicle test for cocaine and marijuana. So why a 7-year-old would ever test positive for cocaine and marijuana is beyond me. And this was, in fact, under the care of Kelly and Jake. So, but Michael's the one in jail, which I find fascinating, infuriating as well, but fascinating. Um, and apparently, in Oklahoma, the Uncle Dan that Sophie was apparently speaking about lived in Oklahoma as well at some point. And now, trigger warning, folks. Sophie apparently had described this Uncle Dan, and he has drug convictions. And Sophie alleged that he had a quote unquote weird looking penis. Uh, and it would come out of his pants when she sat on his lap. He had pedo pictures on his Facebook page, or at least things that looked kind of pedo-ish. I've seen them myself. I will not show them, obviously. And then there is a Christopher Apperson, who is a registered sex offender and was listed at the same address. But he apparently was not, he did not appear to be there. So these are all things that should have been looked into, but were never looked into, not properly. Again, and we also have the Collin County Sheriff, detective sergeant, who was off duty, and we listened to a recording phone call several times here where he tried to intercept a SANE exam from taking place, which is basically a rape kit to be taken of a child. And so why nobody seems to find any of this suspicious is beyond me. And right now, nobody knows where Sophie is. Here's the thing. Apparently, recently, the last year, Kelly had filed for custody of her child that she has with Jake Bellington. So I don't think that she has any intention of being with the guy in any way, shape, or form for whatever reason. But make no mistake, Kelly Long is responsible as these children's mother for putting these children in his presence, for putting him in an environment where he is present. So Kelly Long, to me, is not innocent. I don't think that she's a responsible or loving mother in any way, shape, or form. And I think that these children being in her care are always at risk of being in danger. Always. As long as these kids are in her care in any way, shape, or form. And the only person who seemed to be interested in protecting these children is now locked up in jail on a $2 million bond for simply trying to protect his child from these environments. And there's something seriously wrong with that. And thank you, Amethyst, for sharing that link in the chat. I actually want to I'm actually going to take a look at this website that Amethyst is sharing. I'm going to go over some stuff here because I think it would be the responsible thing to do. So we're going to hear a little bit because there's some very valuable information here. At least I think there's very valuable information here. So we're going to go over some of it. So Amethyst did just share this link in the chat. And I want to read some of this stuff here. It says here the statistic that no one talks about. Give me a second. Let me wet my whistle a little bit here. The statistic that no one talks about: 29% of child SA reports result in an arrest. 29% only of reported SA to children results in an arrest. That's infuriating in and of itself. That number even drops to 19% if the child is under 6 years old. How can it be that when a child takes the ultimate risk to say out loud the unimaginable trauma of being SA'd, that their abuser is not even arrested, let alone prosecuted or convicted? What if only 19 to 29% of child kidnappings resulted in an arrest? Whether they are visible injuries or not, a child has been greatly harmed, and children and communities put at risk because a child was not believed, protected, or defended. You know, like being called a brat and a liar on a YouTube channel. Something like that. If a child reports, there must be trained professionals empowered to handle these unique cases and defend that child's truth no matter what it takes. Laws need to be in place to protect the child during this process, and everyone involved needs to be trauma informed. If a child takes the ultimate risk to trust someone to tell what is happening to them, then we can't let them down when they do. This is the way it is. This is not the way it must remain. Sarah Wild. The problem: abuser tells the child they will not be believed if they tell. We ask children to tell and assure them they will be believed. When the child reports, they are told there isn't enough evidence to believe them. That's the problem. The solution is families and communities believe, protect, and defend a child. So yes, critical cankles. Always believe the child. Believe the child. Yes, I say it, and I say it loud, and I say it proudly, as you say it, to mock those of us who actually want to help and protect our children. You mock us when we say, believe the child. Organizations believe, protect, and defend a child. Justice system believe, protect, and defend a child. Let's hear a little bit about who started this website and this organization. Who is Defend Survivors? Defend Survivors is a blog inspired by a speech written by Sarah, a survivor, and run by Paula, Sarah's mother, and now a mother advocate. In the speech, "It's Not Your Crime," Sarah describes child's perspective on what it's like to have a child abuse case turned down by the justice system and how it negatively affects the survivor's healing. Our goal is that all children who report child sexual abuse are believed, protected, and defended. We are dedicated to making sure that survivors who report abuse and enter the justice system are positively affected and supported in their healing. Well, I wanted to read her speech, but apparently the page is not available. The voice of some survivors here. Ali Raisman says, "I am not a victim. I am a survivor." How much is a little girl worth? Rachel Denhollander. I don't regret a single decision I have ever made because I am here. I survived. Elizabeth Smart. Little girls don't stay little forever. They grow up into strong women that return to destroy your world. Kyle Stevens. I missed one here. This is the way it is. This is not the way it must remain. Lucilia. I've been the little girl who told about SA and wasn't taken seriously. LR Nost. There is hope. There is always hope. This does not have to define you, Elizabeth Smart. Uh, I want everyone to feel that they belong and are worth standing up for. That no matter what darkness you've lived through, there's someone out there willing to carry the light and will lead you to your own true north. That there is good in our world. Oprah Winfrey. And if you're interested, like I said, this has been was shared by Amethyst in the chat. I will, if I hope I can remember, I'm terrible about this, but I will try to remember to post the link in the description, so that you can read the creators of that organization's blogs. But this is a serious problem, people. This is not a just this is a problem that we can't afford, that our kids cannot afford for us to dismiss as they're probably lying. The reason why I would talk about cankles so much is because what I said was that she was very dangerous, that what she was doing was dangerous. And I stand by that. I would say this all the time. What she was doing was absolutely dangerous, by making fun of people for believing a child and mocking them. And for suggesting that Sophie is just a liar and a spoiled brat. What that did was that would influence, and make no mistake, she is a social media influencer. That would influence people in her audience who take her seriously, to look at things a certain way. And the result of that is a very potentially dangerous result, which imagine if somebody in her chat was a teacher, a little league coach, a soccer mom coach, I mean, and somebody trusted them and came to them and said a little girl or a little boy would come to them and say, this is happening to me. And because they take Kay's words so, like it's gospel, well, then instead of behaving in a manner that is this child could be telling the truth, so let's investigate and let's eliminate the possibility that she isn't, right? Or let's eliminate the possibility or the likelihood that she is. Let's find out if she's lying. But when you automatically are looking at this child like she's a liar or he's a liar and a brat, well, then you're not instinctively going to try to help this child. And that's why that's extremely dangerous. And that's why she doesn't have a channel anymore. At least not one that anybody gives a shit about. So, we need to get back to the things in this case that make sense. We need to get back to that, which is the court documents. That's the stuff that we have to pay attention to. The court documents, the ludicrous court decisions that were made. We need to get back to the 911 calls. We need to get back to the people with police records and past use of and abuse of drugs and alcohol. These are the things that all add up to a dangerous situation that make it responsible to look into Sophie's claims and investigate thoroughly, which a thorough investigation had never taken place. And there's so much to speculate as to why that didn't happen, considering Jake Bellington's family being involved in law enforcement. considering that his charges for putting his hands on one of these kids and causing injury to one of them, his charges for that were dropped. And yet there's a detail in the court filing where there was a tampering of evidence in some way, shape, or form. But his charges were dropped. Nobody's looking into this guy. And here we have a man without a criminal record who's now in jail with a $2 million bond because everyone seemed to behave towards him and his child like they were characters in a Twilight Zone episode. Nothing made sense. The court decisions didn't make sense. Why wasn't Kelly charged with contempt when a child was injured as a result of her violating the court order saying that those kids cannot be around Jake Bellington? She violates this court order, and as a result of that, a child breaks his hand. And why were there no repercussions for that? Why wasn't this taken into consideration in the judge's decision? And then there's not even any speculation as to the shadiness of Judge Ray Wheeler and then his wife being appointed to the case. I mean, there's why isn't anybody looking into these things? Why isn't anybody looking into the possible corruption or at least misconduct taking place with the amicus attorneys assigned to the case? Nobody's looking into any of these things. And yet here a man sits in jail in the very county after being held in a Mexican prison, sleeping on a concrete floor simply for trying to protect his daughter. And while he's in that Mexican prison, sleeping on a concrete floor, did he sit there and feel sorry for himself? No. He spent his time teaching Mexican prisoners how to speak English so that they would have more of an opportunity and be more productive when they were on the outside. Sounds like a real criminal to me, right? Sounds like a lazy shitbag, right? Blows my mind, man. And yet nobody gives a shit anymore. Because they figure out, well, if he's in jail, then he must have done something wrong. When the entire time we were talking about this case for a year prior to that. We were talking about this case and talking about possible corruption within the Collin County court system, within the police department. Misconduct, blatant misconduct. And yet now he's in jail and everybody's just like, well, I guess since he's in jail, then he must have done something wrong. No. That is a result of everything that we were trying to say is wrong. And then the argument is, well, that's convenient because that's something that once he's in jail, he could sit there and say, it's because the system is corrupt. Well, look at the evidence. Go back and watch my videos reading Kelly's deposition. She admits at the time when she wasn't even she admits at the time that an environment with Jake in it is bad for those kids. She admits it. Sworn testimony under a deposition. She admits it. I wish Perfectly Imperfect. I wish. I wish there would be. I wish some sort of. That's always been my hope, is that some professional documentary filmmaker looks into this and collects as much evidence as they possibly can and puts this in the mainstream public's eye. That is my hope. And it's so far-fetched, right? That Michael is sitting in jail worried, um worried that that his life is in danger. I mean, is it so far-fetched for him to be worried about that at this point? Yes, Luann, I did work with Josh on this. Um and another creator who um will not talk about this. So I won't mention her name out of respect for that. But that creator was absolutely bullied by Kelly Long's PR team and attorneys, and they came to an agreement. So that then I happen to know this for a fact, that it was just so she could live in peace, because she was, I believe, 8 months pregnant at the time and already had a small child at home and a career, and just said, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth my family's well-being. And I don't blame her at all. But she was absolutely bullied. That's my opinion on that. I don't know the details of it. I don't know all the facts. But the only reason that could come to my mind why this creator decided not to talk about this anymore and and release a very, very unbelievable retraction, like, is for that reason that I can think of. It's written all over it. It stinks of it. But we'll never know. We'll never know. But I mean, if you follow that creator, you know that she puts her heart into every single case that she covers. And in this particular one, she was extremely invested, and her heart was extremely invested in it. And she scared people. That's what I think. She shook the ground. So it is my belief, personally. I don't know. She hasn't talked to me about it. I don't know. But it is my belief that she was absolutely bullied into silence regarding this case. Taking advantage of the fact that she was 8 months pregnant at the time and doing the best that she could to manage her life. No, that's another thing. That's another thing. Um, Somehow she could afford a PR attorney. I don't know how. I don't have any idea how. I don't have any idea how. If I had to guess, some of the people that we're talking about helped her. Some of these people on Jake Bellington's side, I believe, helped her. And I don't think they did it to protect her. I think they did it to protect him. By protecting her, that would slow down any trail of anything getting back to him. I think that this man, and I use that term very loosely, I believe that Jake Bellington is absolutely protected by people in positions of power. I absolutely believe that. Yeah, and Katie Joy's dumbass decided to insert herself in it and shared uh shared the attorney's donation information and accused Michael of kidnapping. even though he was never charged with kidnapping, and even though he was never, there was never a Amber Alert put out for Sophie at the time. I mean, what do you need a PR attorney for, right? Um, just a couple of lives back, I I played a clip of Katie Joy talking about in an unrelated case, talking about people who don't talk and that just hire attorneys and don't talk, and hire PR firms or whatever. Though, well, then it's because they have something to hide because they're guilty of something, which I thought was really ironic and funny because she uh, shared Kelly Long's attorney information. And then, they want to make Kelly Long out to be this victim because people had harassed her to where she couldn't live in her house anymore and she had to move into a motel or whatever, which I agree. That's not okay. I would never encourage anyone to engage in that kind of behavior. What I would encourage you to do is use social media to create awareness, not dox people and not make threats. I think that's ridiculous. That just makes the problem worse. Yeah. It's just it's just really sad, man. And meanwhile, Michael Long is sitting in a jail absolutely helpless and in fear for his life. Um and I don't know what he plans on doing. I don't know where his case is. I don't know any of the details. And once I talk to him, I don't know if I'm even going to be allowed to share anything that he tells me, you know? Um because I'm not covering this to build my channel. I'm covering this to try to help him in any way that I can. And there's not much I can do except sit up here and talk about it, and try to generate awareness. It's all I can do. But I think at this point, there's certain things that he is probably not at liberty to talk about, and I have to respect that because like I said, I'm here to help him. I'm not here to hurt him. Irish fan? I mean, not really. Not really. All you can do is just keep talking about this, and you know, I think the best thing that was on Michael's side was this being public. I mean, it also acted as kind of a curse because it pissed off the wrong people. You know what I mean? It just made powerful people very angry, and and I'm sure that had a hand in the result that we're looking at right now, where he's at. Um, um, when I can and when those things are made available to me, because I don't think he's even seen a court date yet. That is crazy to me. Um, I don't think he's even seen a court date yet. So once he does, and that information becomes public record, I will share it and I'll go over it. I would love to. I would love to, but Josh is a busy guy, man. Josh's channel is gotten very big because he is doing very, very important things that he's already involved in that are just as important as this. I mean, he's fighting exploiters of kids in his own way, you know. So yeah, I mean, if he wants to help, but this isn't a case right now about helping a child. I mean, in the long run, in the long game, it is, you know, because the only person that is capable of even helping Sophie in any way, shape, or form is Michael. But his parental rights have been stripped. So I don't know how much help he can be. I don't know if he can ever get that back. Um, so he's going to have to get an attorney. Right now, he's got a criminal public defender. I don't think he's even seen a court date yet. I'm hoping that he does see a court date soon. But I mean, what's happening to him is an absolute injustice. His rights were just chucked right out the window. I mean, why is he sitting in jail and he's never even seen a court date uh, with a jury when he motioned for a jury trial? He got sentenced by this civil court, family court judge to all this time in jail, and he motioned for a jury trial, and he was denied the motion. Why? Because all that looks like is that judge is afraid of 12 people hearing all of the evidence involving this case, and even one of them going, I can't in good conscience throw this guy in jail. I just can't. He does need more than a public defender, but he doesn't have any money, you know? And you know, I'd help raise the money for him if I could, but I don't have enough viewers to really make much of a difference in that sense. I would love to help if I could. But I mean, he raised I think it was over $200,000 at one point, and that all went to attorney fees. It's all gone. Now, KJ will say that it funded his trip to Mexico, but all that money was gone long before that. And the person who shared those receipts with me was the person at the time who was working with KJ to spread all these rumors and make it. And she's the one who created the rumor that she was being kidnapped. Yet she's the one who proved to me that all of the money went to Michael Long's attorneys. But that money's gone. You know how much attorneys cost? I mean, I don't know, Amethyst. Like, I just don't understand how this works. I'd love to pick the brain of somebody in the law tube universe. Yeah, we got to stay loud. It's a problem. Is everybody just got quiet? Everybody was just like, oh well, you know. And I think a lot of people just got sick of the drama too. You know, I mean, there were creators that were just focused on, you know, I was annoyed with this Alyssa girl because she kept showing up in trash YouTube channel chats, which made Michael look bad. So credible people would be like, dude, what the fuck is this? Why are these people talking to them? It makes no sense. I would get so annoyed. I'd get on the phone with Michael and be like, dude, you need to tell your girlfriend to shut the fuck up. Like, I would straight up tell him that. It was annoying as hell. to see him in some trash YouTuber's channel, you know, just perpetuating the gossip. It was really annoying, man. I was like, your credibility is fucked because of your girlfriend, dude. It's really annoying, man. That made me mad more than anything. That was the most frustrating thing. He already had a gag order put on him. He had a gag order slapped on him long before he got quiet. He'd been on this channel several times after he had that gag order. He didn't care about the gag order. And I don't blame him for not caring about the gag order. He was like, the only thing that I have is my voice right now. It's the only protection that I have for Sophie is my voice. And I could not disagree with that. Yeah, there's the Cory Bigsby thing, right? Um, I did talk a little bit about that. Um, Patty Barnett. Think about the guy in Virginia, Cory Bigsby. Um, yeah, little Cody is still missing. And he's not presumed dead, according to idiot Dolly Vision. Despite what he says, I never heard any law enforcement officer say he's presumed dead. That's ridiculous. And again, that's a very dangerous thing because then what do? When we perpetuate a rumor that a child is dead, when law enforcement has not made any such claim, then what happens is that takes eyes away from, that takes eyes off of the task of keeping them open in case they see the child somewhere. When you assume the child's dead, well, you're not looking anymore. But yeah, no, I agree. I don't think that they should have violated his human rights in the process. Um, I agree with you. And that's another thing. Um, that brings me to some other possible theory uh, that I never really thought about. Um, is it possible that one of the reasons why Sophie was never issued an Amber Alert and was never actually, um, and was never actually, and Michael Long was never actually charged with kidnapping or wanted for kidnapping? No arrest warrant was issued for kidnapping, is because that would possibly create national attention, and that would be another thing because there was already attention on this thing. So if that had happened, would have that created mainstream media interest and shed more light on a situation that the powers that be did not want light shed on? No, Ivan the Great, he did not still have custody. She was in his custody, but his parental rights were stripped already. Now, what the police officer told me, because I called and I asked, but what the police officer told me was that there was not an Amber Alert issued because they did not believe Sophie to be in any danger. She has to be considered in danger for there to be an Amber Alert. But which, okay, great, but I'm wondering, like, uh, they obviously don't want national attention, much less worldwide attention, because tabloid. Uh, there was a couple of tabloid online media sources that talked about it. but they didn't cover it much. And now when you Google this story, almost nothing comes up. Almost nothing. And I'm going to have to say it's because Kelly Long made that happen. So, um, yeah, I don't think, I think the last thing that Collin County wants are major media news sources looking into their methods. That's my theory. That's definitely my suspicion. And I refuse to call it the Cory Bigsby story. I'm going to call it the Cody Bigsby story because it's still about a missing child. But I see what you're saying, Mandy Lucas. Because here's the thing is, yeah, this dude's rights were violated, but he also admitted to being a neglectful father and abusing these kids. He was charged with not seeking medical care, providing medical care to a child who had physical injuries. Um, I think this guy is totally guilty based on what we know. I think he absolutely knows what happened to Cody. So yeah, I'm not going to call it the Cory Bigsby case. I'm going to call it the Cody Bigsby case. To me, it's still about the kid. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Thank you guys for joining me. Once again, please do me a favor on your way out, hit that like, and I love you. And we'll do this again very soon, my friends.